Good evening, everyone. Dr. Barbara Russell here, and I'd like to provide you with just a brief update regarding our school closures, ending this current school year, thinking about what might happen this summer, and planning for the fall. I'm going to be brief this evening. I don't have a lot of details about the fall, but I want to let you know what we're thinking about and what some of the conversations are focusing on. There is also a senior awards ceremony this evening at 7 o'clock, and I'm hoping you'll tune into that. Dr. Moss will present lots of our seniors with recognition for good things that they've done. So a couple of things that we're thinking about, first and foremost, is that we have a strong finish to the 1920 school year. And in the next 2 weeks, there's a lot of things happening for our students. If you have a student in the high school and you receive weekly messages from Dr. Moss, then you're familiar with some of the things that are happening to really pay tribute to our seniors and showcase some of the great things that they've done this year. The end of the year is not what they had anticipated or planned for, so we're trying to turn it into something that's special and really gives them an opportunity to reflect and see some of the fun stuff and the good things that happened over the course of 1920 despite our mandated school closures. So we have senior awards tonight. We also have a senior athletic compilation video tomorrow night. We have art and music highlights from our seniors on May 29th, Friday. There's a senior video on June 1st. Staff video for our students will be on June 2nd, a baccalaureate ceremony on June 3rd, and also on June 3rd, as well as June 4th, our seniors will participate in the drive-through graduation ceremony this year. And during the days on the 3rd and the 4th, our seniors will be divided based on the elementary school they attended. And they will drive through either on the morning of the 3rd, Skip Back will drive through first. In the afternoon will be Schwanksville students, and then in the morning of the 4th will be Evergreen, and the afternoon South. So that hopefully our students will be connected to some of the other students that will be driving through, and they'll all be offered that opportunity to walk across the stage and receive their diploma cover and also participate in a photo op. So we're looking forward to that for them. It'll be different, but we want to make it very special for them. And I know that there are some other things happening that first week of June, last week of school for our students, and some surprises yet to come, I think, from Dr. Moss. If we think about our underclassmen, our students in elementary, middle school, and then 9th, 10th, and 11th grades, we're also planning for them to conclude this school year. And some of that heavy-duty work, the big assignments are winding down, and we're preparing for cleaning up classroom spaces and making sure that if students have personal items, they have an opportunity to pick them up. You will hear from principals at the middle level about grab and goes, as well as elementary if you have not already. So staff are packing up desks at the elementary level, packing up lockers at the middle level, and organizing student materials in bags. You can then stop by during the hours indicated by principals on June 5th or June 8th and pick up your child's bag. There will also be opportunities afforded to students who need to get into a gym locker and may need to retrieve some personal items. And there will be details shared by our middle school principals this week. So look for those to come out in their weekly communication. 9th, 10th, and 11th graders may require a little bit more time, and they'll be returning some of their resources from this year, as well as picking up items from their lockers on the 5th, the 8th, the 9th, and we may actually need a little bit more time for them because there are a lot of them. And while students come into the building, we're upholding the guidelines right now that are in place. So there's social distancing, and adults in the building will be wearing masks. So we'll have some staff around to support these efforts and just make sure that students don't come in close contact with others. We maintain that distance. So if you have questions about that, I encourage you to reach out to your child's principal. But we are working to conclude the year and do so on a strong note while we honor our seniors. And we're excited about some of the different ways we'll be doing that this year. Students, just a business note, if you will, a couple of business notes. Students will keep their Chromebooks through the summer. We're not going to collect those and then redistribute those because we're not quite sure how the fall will look for us or how the school year will start up. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So students will keep their Chromebooks, and if they don't have an opportunity to return their textbooks, we'll take care of that in the fall too. So no worries there. We're going to try and continue with food distributions over the summer. The state is working with school districts in a way that would allow us to provide food to all students, anyone in need. So stay tuned. We're still working on the final details of whether or not that will be possible, but it is an effort we're making so that we can continue those food distributions on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we will not have any camps on site this year. So no fun camp and some of those other organized activities, basketball camps, Dennis Stanton's camp, they will not take place this year on campus, on site. And we're certainly hoping that changes soon, but for now, based on the guidelines and moving into the yellow, we're not permitted to do that. So we're hoping to be able to update you, but for now, we're not organizing any of the activities we normally have. Check our community bulletin board on our website, though. For the activities that we hear about, you might be interested for your child in some of the things that are available in other facilities or through other facilities or organizations, for your child, all virtual. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the summer. While we're not having any summer camps, I am interested in your ideas about how we might engage our students in ways that are safe and healthy for them. I've started some conversations with students this week and asked them that question. There are some really creative and unique ideas floating around as we've been thrust into this virtual world and forced to figure out how we might entertain ourselves or socialize, because we're really used to doing that and unable to do so right now. So there are some book clubs that will be organized this summer through our curriculum department. There have been some at East. There was a Minecraft competition. We may have another one of those. There are trivia nights and Kahoot nights. So there are ways that we're trying to bring students together with other students to engage in those sorts of activities virtually. I'm interested in your thoughts on what else might engage your child and serve as fun during the summer when they may not be able to connect with their friends and do some of the things that we're used to doing during the summer. So I'm happy to hear from you if you want to share comments this evening on this platform or send me an email. I'm asking students the same questions. I'd love your feedback on that. But what can the school district do to try and engage our students this summer with the limitations in place? There are resources. I've been asked about software resources for students and what might be available to support academically, math practice, reading skills, and there are a couple of resources that will continue to be available through the summer. And you can find those on our website under the virtual Voyage webpage. And you'll see Math Seeds and Reading Eggs and Exact Path. So you'll see some of the names that you're most likely familiar with, your child's familiar with, and you can tap into those for some amount of time this summer. We are shifting to a new student information system this summer. So we're moving from eSchool, or HACC, as you may know it, the Home Access Center, to a different student information system. It's called Synergy. It will again host all of our student data and provide you with a portal to access your child's progress or information from a teacher, etc. There could be a blackout time when we can't access those software resources that I just mentioned as we shift and transition over to that new student information system. And once we know more about that blackout, it's sometime in July, middle of July to the end of July. We'll let you know, we'll communicate. But I just want to give you a heads up. These are some of the things that might engage your child this summer, with that disclaimer that we may be down for some time in July. More to come on that. So I'm interested in your ideas on what else might really engage your children this summer. So I think the big question is what happens in the fall, and what does the 2021 school year look like? And I know that the last time we spoke, and when we were preparing for graduation, we were looking for hard and fast answers about what was going to happen for graduation and how that was going to be conducted. And we eventually came around to that. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the same tonight. We don't have a hard and fast plan yet for how we're going to open school in 2021, but we do have lots of ideas. And we're really following the guidance of the county health department, the state health department, and certainly the CDC. And we're thinking about a couple of different scenarios. Scenario one would be we're in the green phase, and we can have students back on campus in our physical buildings. We may need to have certain guidelines in place. However, it may be possible with social distancing and appropriate operational setups that we could have our students back in school. That's my hope, and that's really what I'm aiming for, because I believe that's what's best for our students when it comes to school and learning. And I think that's what I'm hearing from a lot of parents and from our students, that they want to be back in school. They want to be socially connected to their friends and to their teachers. And learning is difficult virtually for a lot of students. And when they're in the physical setting and they have that access to their teachers and that opportunity to converse and that routine, that structured schedule, we believe it supports student success. So my goal is for us to be back in the physical setting in the fall. It may not happen in August. It may be delayed, again, based upon what's best for our students, the health, the safety, and the welfare of our students and our staff. So it may be a delayed return to the physical setting. Another option we've talked about is really a hybrid option. There may be some of you out there who are concerned about sending your child back into a school community. And I understand that. So it may be that we have some virtual opportunities happening while we have some present in the physical setting opportunities in place. So know that we're thinking about those possibilities. That's scenario two. That's a hybrid version where we still have to maintain some guidelines if we bring our students back into the physical setting. I recognize there may still be families who prefer that virtual for different reasons, health reasons primarily, and we want to be respectful of that. If for some reason we're in a phase like the red phase, and the guidelines are the strictest, then we will be virtual to start the school year. What I will also share about that, if that's the scenario we end up starting the school year with, I know that we've learned an awful lot these past weeks, this fourth quarter, and the instruction will be more robust. And we're thinking about how to make it more robust and meaningful for our students so that we reach every student. And some of the considerations include more of a schedule, a routine for our students that's similar to what they experience when they're in the school setting, additional teacher interactions, and opportunities for students to engage verbally with teachers when they have questions about some of their learning. And you know, the other thing that we think about is starting a school year in a virtual environment. That's really different from ending a school year in a virtual environment, because by the time we got to March and our schools were closed, our students had well-established relationships with their teachers and their friends. In the fall, that may not be the case for our students. Some of them are transitioning from kindergarten into our elementary schools, into our elementary schools as kindergarten students, from elementary into middle school, from middle school into high school. And we're thinking very carefully about how we support those transitions for our students. How do we support all students acclimating to a new school year, new teachers, new classmates, and in some cases a new setting? And so we're working on opportunities virtually to try and do that, to try and reach kids and connect with them. We're also working closely with our staff to try and figure out how we open up a school year in a virtual learning environment in ways that really connect well with our kids and our families. So as we think about these three possible scenarios, back on physical sites in all of our buildings, that's scenario 1. Scenario 2, maybe a hybrid, a little bit of both on-site and virtual. Or scenario 3, completely virtual. We're thinking about how we start off the year in any one of these scenarios and make sure we connect well with our students and we establish strong relationships with our families. The operations, the academics, and really the supports that are necessary for students, staff, and families, depending upon the scenario we end up moving forward. I'll also share with you, as part of these conversations in Perkiomen Valley, we talk about what other school districts are doing, and Montgomery County school districts work pretty closely together, meeting weekly to discuss these ideas and these different scenarios for how we'll start the 2021 school year. And again, in a way that meets the needs of our students as learners, while also keeping their health, their safety, their welfare in mind and at the forefront, really. So stay tuned. I just want you to know we're talking about these things. We're thinking about these different ideas. I'm certainly interested in your questions or your comments. I appreciate all of you who completed the parent survey. That was extremely helpful feedback, so thank you for that. You helped us to know what worked best and was most effective for your child as they were learning in a virtual environment. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. I'm learning from our students firsthand, those that are interested in participating, what has worked best for them from their perspective. And we're also hearing from our staff. We've surveyed our staff to learn from them. What did they realize worked well for their students as learners? So we have a lot of logistics to think about if we're back in this virtual learning environment in the fall. And I want you to be aware of those thoughts and those conversations that are happening. So I think I have some comments. So I'm going to shift over to some comments. And this is a good one. Thank you. So a question about school sports. And we are really watching closely what PIAA is thinking about. This question has come up to me from the students as well. They're very interested in getting back into those activities they really enjoy and they know well. We don't know what PIAA is going to do yet. We have, our athletic director has attended some meetings and been a part of some conversations. They have not made a decision yet about what they're going to do for the fall. So stay tuned for that. As soon as we know, we'll communicate that to you. We have heard some considerations for contact sports versus maybe other sports. We will define very clearly for you what PIAA hands down once we learn that from them. So another question that I received is, how will we handle busing in the fall? And I think that's a really important question that, again, we've been tossing around as part of our discussions. Our buses can be very crowded, and there are concerns about that. We will not be able to maintain social distancing on the buses as we currently have them routed. So we need to think about that. And maybe we need to invite parents who are interested and available to drop their children off at school or pick them up. But we're still working on the busing and how we might divide students to create healthier bus environments for our students and still provide that transportation that I know really benefits many of our families. In the past, in the spring, when we started to learn about the coronavirus and were taking in some of what we knew about how it spread at that time, our buses were cleaned every day at the conclusion of the bus runs, as were our classrooms. That practice will continue into the fall. Will staff be available in the summer if there are questions or problems with colleges receiving transcripts? Certainly, individuals will be available in the counseling center. Our support staff should be there and be able to accommodate you. We don't always have staff in during the summer. Our high school counselors are often in. They create a schedule for themselves and are often in. I don't know yet how this summer will look. However, you can always get in touch with a principal, and we can work then to get you the transcript or the information your child might need for a college application, because we don't want you to be in a position where your application process is held up. And if all else fails, you can always reach out to me, and we'll certainly work with our schools and, again, the staff that are available and in district, in the physical settings, to make sure you get what you need. And I see there are a few more questions. I'm going to take those. I'm trying to cover some of the topics that we've been focusing on that might update you while being brief. So I see here, for students making transitions, will they be able to visit schools before school begins? We are really hoping that for our 5th graders preparing to move into 6th and our 8th graders preparing to move into 9th grade, that yes, we can have some sort of physical experience for them in the buildings. We're working on a combination orientation for our students in those grade levels that would include both a virtual experience, just again to acclimate them to the building and some of the routines, and then also hopefully set up a physical visit to the buildings, whether it's east or west or the high school. So more details to come. We're also concerned with our kindergarten students. We often bring our kindergarten students in on site to meet their teacher in August, to see their classroom, and sometimes to even take a bus ride. And we actually shifted to some virtual registrations this spring, as we wanted to make sure we had all of our kindergarten students registered. So that was all done off-site. We are hoping that later in the summer, we can bring these students on-site. And if we have new students to our school district, we'd also like to be able to escort them or host them in a building walkthrough, again, to welcome them to our school community and make sure they have a sense of the building, the school that they'll be attending, what it's like. Do we have clear criteria from CDC or state on reopening schools? We don't. We don't have clear, hard and fast guidelines about how we must run schools. We certainly have guidelines about the considerations we need to make, but the CDC, nor the state, nor even the county is suggesting or directing schools to open a certain way or to transport a certain way. We actually look to them for the guidance that they've been providing, and we'll then put that into a plan, again, where we can uphold that guidance and make sure our students are safe and our families are safe as we engage them, if they come back to that physical setting, as we engage them in our schools. And what about marching band practice in summer? Yeah, that's a good question. And some of those larger group activities are also ones we have questions about as to whether or not they'll actually be able to take place in the ways that we're used to them happening. So hold off on the marching band question. I've had that from others, and I know how important that is to our students who participate. We are really hoping to get back to a level of normal that our students and community know by the end of the summer. And that means these activities that our students are used to participating in and the school buildings that they should be a part of on a regular basis. So I don't have a good answer for you, hard and fast, around marching band, but again, it's like that PIAA question. Will our students be able to participate in sports? Will they be able to participate in marching band? So stay tuned. We'll continue to keep you updated. But again, it's a part of a larger conversation. And I wanted you to know that the school district administration and staff are really thinking thoughtfully about how we might kick off the 2021 school year. Okay? So I think at this point, I've covered the points that I was hoping to be able to communicate tonight. I'm going to keep it brief and hope that you're able to tune into the Senior Awards. I really thank you for your participation this evening. And any follow-up, don't hesitate to let me know. But thanks so much, and please take care.